There have been 14 bosses throughout the history of Mortal Kombat, but which boss is the best boss? And perhaps more importantly, which boss is the worst in Mortal Kombat history? Today we'll be answering both those questions once and for all. If you love Mortal Kombat and tier list videos, make sure to leave a like down below to show your support, and then keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell, that way you never miss a future video. Now without any further ado, let's begin. Looking for cheap software like Windows 11 for less than $3? Well, Royal CD Keys has you covered. They have amazing deals on software and video games, like this incredible Guilty Gear bundle. You get Xrd, Revelator, Deluxe Plus, Rev 2 Deluxe all in one. And don't forget to use my code TrueUnderdog for 10% off. The Steam code will get emailed to you very soon, then you can open Steam, enter the code, and enjoy all these incredible games for a great price. Purchasing software and games is fast, easy, and safe with Royal CD Keys, and I can't recommend them enough. Now, I want to get one thing straight right off the bat. This video is not about the power levels. Instead, this video is about everything. The boss's impact on the lore, how much the fans love them, all that stuff, and then also their power level, but it's a bit of everything. You get the idea. So let's begin with Tsung, because it makes sense to start where everything began, the first boss in Mortal Kombat history. But keep in mind, it's Mortal Kombat 1 Tsung, because that's the only time he's ever been a boss character, unless you count Deadly Alliance, which I really don't, because he plays like a normal character. And then you have Mortal Kombat 9, which is very similar to MK1. He can still transform into every character, but now he has way more attacks and is just stronger overall. However, even so, that version of Tsung is still a throwback to MK1 Tsung, so that's who we're ranking today. Tsung transforming into other characters was mind-blowing for the time, but outside of that, his attacks were pretty lame. He just threw a fireball and that's it. Even so, I don't want to diminish how cool it was that he could transform into the opponent. That blew so many gamers' minds at the arcades. So with all that in mind, I would say he is solid A tier, at least for now. Maybe at some point he'll get bumped up to S tier, but for now he is A tier. But then we have Goro, who I honestly think was more iconic. This guy stuck with you and you were terrified of him. His sheer size was imposing, and then he had 4 arms, which made him even more intimidating, and even in the lore of the first game, he is stronger than Tsung. He was hired to kill people that Tsung could not. So when you take all of that into consideration, I have to put Goro in front of Tsung. But then we have Kintaro. Let's talk about Kintaro. He's a clone of Goro. You all know that I hate clones on this channel, and yeah, he looks cooler than Goro in every single way, but he's still just a copycat. Literally, a cat and a copycat, which is why I'm putting him in B tier. Yes, he was a tougher version of Goro. This guy was a nightmare at the arcades. He stole so many quarters, but he's still a copycat at the end of the day. He's just Goro 2.0. Without Goro, you wouldn't have Kintaro, so I'm gonna put him in B tier. And I'm just throwing it out there. If you have any grievances with my tier list, then please make your voices heard in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your criticism. And you know what? We might as well talk about Motaro now. I think Motaro is either behind or in front of Kintaro. The guy never showed up as a boss in later games, not even in MK9, which was a throwback to the first 3 games. But that's not because fans didn't like him. In fact, fans love this character and have wanted him to come back for a long time, but NetherRealm has said it's really hard to do motion capture when you're half horse. At least according to NetherRealm, their words, not mine. Even so, I think Motaro has so many cool things going for him. The guy is half horse, he can fire lasers from his tail, he has the horns, he's got 3 eyes too. I'll be honest, he's far more original than Kintaro, so I'm putting him in front, absolutely. But now it's time to talk about Shinnok. I'm not a big fan of this guy because he pretty much does what Tsung does, only worse. He can't even transform into the characters, he just steals their moves instead. However, with that said, he does play a pretty big role in the lore, and he's come back as the main villain for several games. While he wasn't technically the final boss of MKX, he was the main villain of that game, so I gotta give him credit where it's due. He's been the main villain several times, so with that in mind, I think I will put him above these guys, but still behind Tsung and Goro. Once again, not very iconic until the later game. I do love his outfit though. The boy's got drip. I'm a huge fan of the colors. Oh man, but here's where things get difficult, because now we have the best and the worst villains, and it's gonna be a close contest between the worst villain in Mortal Kombat history. As much as I love Moloch, he's definitely D tier. The guy is never coming back as a sub-boss ever again, but he was a nightmare in Deadly Alliance. He was much tougher than Shang Tsung or Quan Chi. However, his lore was pretty much non-existent, and as a result he was absent from every game and even killed in Quan Chi's intro and in the Mortal Kombat X comics. So he's a jobber, plain and simple. This guy's a loser. I'm a huge fan of his design, and his boss fight will forever be in my memories as a child, but even so, he is certified D tier. Honestly, this tier list is way harder than I thought it would be, but that's always the case. Next up, let's talk about Noob Smoke. So, a weird sub-boss because, again, just two regular characters, but you are fighting both at the same time. They don't have 2 health bars, thank God, but they can switch in and out as you fight them, and they are the sub-boss of Deception, so we gotta keep that in mind. Having a tag team character as the sub-boss is very original and unique, and they do have lore as well in Deception, but even so, I think I'm gonna put them in D tier, but still in front of Moloch. Because even though the concept of a tag team boss is really cool, they're not original characters, they're returning characters, so it could also be considered really lazy, depending on your perspective. And next up, let's talk about Darkseid. This man is an OG in the DC comics, right? He's one of the big bads. When he shows up, all the heroes crap their pants. He's beyond intimidating. However, that's not the case in MK vs DC. The guy is gone right away at the very start of story mode and then fuses with Shao Kahn. Now thankfully you still fight him in the arcade ladder. He is a sub-boss just like Shao Kahn, and his moveset is pretty cool. He has the laser eyes, or the Omega beams if you're a super nerd like me and actually know the name. Overall, he's pretty fun to fight and even more fun to play as if you hack the game, but as far as lore goes, he has nothing going for him in that game. He's gone right away, so I'm not sure where to put him. I'm conflicted. I guess I'll put him in front of Noob Smoke for now, but I honestly want to put him behind Moloch too. I can't decide. I feel like the people want me to put him in front at the very least. But then we have Dark Khan. Let's talk about Dark Khan, because I bet most people would consider him the worst boss in the history of Mortal Kombat ever. And I think that's mainly due to his design. The guy looks like a living volcano with a skull face, and that's it. There's not much else going for him. And then on top of that, he's barely in story mode. He just shows up at the very end, and he's somehow more generic than both the characters that combined into him. Darkseid, cool. Shao Kahn, cool. Put them both together and it's terrible. It's kind of like fruitcake. Fruit is good and cake is also very tasty, but put them together and it's a horrible combination. And that's honestly how you get Dark Khan, but I still think he's more memorable than anybody else in D tier, so I gotta put him at the front so far. That might be a huge sin, and maybe things will change over time in the video, but right now that's where he is. Man, I'm not joking. This tier list gets tougher and tougher. We're down to the best and the worst in the entire series. Alright, you know what? It's time for S tier. Let's talk about Onaga. This guy has crazy lore in the Mortal Kombat series. It turns out Shao Kahn is not the big bad of Outworld. He had to poison the guy above him, and that man was the Dragon King Onaga with an unkillable army, and the boy himself is also pretty much unkillable too. And that makes for a pretty unique gimmick in the boss battle itself. You can actually walk around the stage and touch the Kamidogu, which destroys them and hurts the Dragon King himself. He's even stunned in place, and you can walk up and get a free combo. It's a pretty interesting gimmick because you're also right next to the spikes, so if you're not careful, he can one-shot you. And Onaga has some pretty cool attacks too. He can breathe fire, he can grab you, fly in the air, and then drop you before slamming on top of you. Some pretty cool stuff. So once again, your boy's a certified S tier. But then we have Corrupted Shinnok. I think he's better than regular Shinnok, but is he better than Goro and Shang Tsung? I don't think he's better than Goro in terms of fan appeal, but I do think he was an interesting boss fight. The man had an instant projectile that was full screen. You could not react to that thing, and it just caught you no matter what you were doing, and it did a good amount of damage too. He was insane, and he could meter burn it. He could also grab you and shove your head into his belly, which is where the amulet was. It would heat you up and then combust and send you flying away, and he had a great fatality that always stuck with me. So if this video is just my opinion and my opinion alone, he might be an S tier, but when it comes to overall fan popularity, he's not gonna be past Goro. There's just no way. He's a one-time boss. In fact, why is he in front of Shang Tsung? That's ridiculous. I will put him in front of MK4 Shinnok though. He is better than the original Shinnok boss, but not better than Shang Tsung. That guy's transforming was iconic, especially for its time. And then we have Kronika. Oh, underdog, you said Kronika was the worst character in Mortal Kombat. No, I did not. I said she was the worst boss created by NetherRealm. And I stand by that video 100%, but keep in mind that this video is about every Mortal Kombat boss, not just the NetherRealm ones, and it also includes the sub-bosses. And as a result, of course, Kronika's not gonna be at the bottom. I can't put her behind Dark Khan. That would be impossible, so I'm gonna put her in C tier, just all by herself for now. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna put her right here, in front of the copycat, but behind Motaro, because I think he's still way more interesting as far as attacks and designs go than Kronika. Kronika's just like a white chick with a crown, and that's it. Her costume overall is not that interesting. I do love the gimmicks of rewinding time and all that, but the coolest thing she does is send that T-Rex at you, right? Everything else is kind of generic looking, and it's still somewhat creative, but I don't know, I can't put her in front of Motaro, can I? Ah, what the heck, I'll put her right there, why not? And now it's time to talk about Blaze. At first, before making this video, I was gonna put Blaze at the very bottom, but then I researched his lore thanks to History Behind the Warrior. Check out his channel and especially his video on Blaze, because I forgot that Blaze was playable in Deadly Alliance and was watching everything unfold in the previous game. Believe it or not, Blaze is arguably a good guy. He was made by the gods to save humanity, and he has to die in the end, and he knows that. He just wants to make sure the right people kill him, that way they get his power. He's honestly a really tragic character when you think about it. The guy was born to die and is still out here helping people, warning characters like Katana about what's gonna unfold for Armageddon, all that stuff. When it comes to lore, Blaze has so much going for him. Now, as a final boss, he's somewhat interesting. He can teleport, he can Blanca Ball at you, or Melina Roll is actually more accurate. He stole that move from Melina. And of course he does tons of damage and has a lot of health, but the boss fight itself to me wasn't super memorable, but that lore is so in-depth and I'm so happy that I researched it. He's honestly one of the most interesting characters I've researched for Mortal Kombat. And that's why I think Blaze might be A tier. I can't put him in S tier because the boss battle itself is so forgettable. His design is also kind of generic, but he is really big, so that makes him kind of imposing and memorable. But overall, it's definitely his lore. The lore is why he's in A tier. This guy was in Deadly Alliance, he played a role in Deception and Armageddon, he's the final boss. And believe it or not, he was also in the classic games too. This guy goes way back. And before discussing Shao Kahn, I'm gonna move people around a little bit. I'm gonna get rid of the D tier and just move everybody into C tier because there is nobody in C tier at this point. And I'm also gonna move Moloch in front of Noob Smoke because he's an actual sub boss, whereas these two are kind of a gimmick. And it's a cool gimmick, but it's kind of lazy too. I'm not sure how to feel about it, but I'm gonna put them at the back because Moloch deserves a bit better. Alright, and now it's time for Shao Kahn. A surprise to absolutely no one, he is in S tier at the very front. There is nobody more memorable or iconic than Shao Kahn. He might not be the strongest boss, but he makes up for it with charisma. And on top of that, his attacks are iconic too. The shoulder charge, the spear throw, the hammer throw, the up charge, and the face blast that never came back for some reason. What's up with that, NetherRealm? Bring that move back. Not only is Shao Kahn stressful to fight against, but even before you fight him, he is on the throne just watching you. You're not even fighting him yet, and the guy is already intimidating. And then when you finally do step in the ring, he is insulting you the entire time, demeaning you to your face. The man will stop mid-fight and then laugh at you in your face, and it came back as a move in Mortal Kombat 11. That's how iconic the laugh and taunts are. Once again, he's not the strongest, but this video is about more than power levels. It's about the best and worst bosses in Mortal Kombat history, and Shao Kahn is definitely at the tippity top. But make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And then while you're down there, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And then keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell. That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.